Have you ever experienced your toddler pitch a fit out of nowhere because you gave them juice from the red cup instead of the blue cup? Or worried as your fearless third grader starts to withdraw from new experiences? Or notice that your normally meticulous middle schooler is forgetting things that they've done their whole life? You may ask yourself, is this normal? It probably is. Now, you can never be a mind reader, but there are some things that you can learn about your kid's brain that will help you better understand why they act the way that they act. Over the next few minutes, I will walk you through the different parts of the brain and its development. This is crucial because, despite you sometimes thinking that your kid has lost theirs, everyone has an amazing brain that God has designed to have capacity to love Him, love others, and to love life. Now, to start, in very general terms, think about the brain of having 4 different regions. Most of us know about the left brain and the right regions of the brain, but we also need to consider the upper and the lower. Now, when all 4 regions are working well together, we can say that they are fully integrating. With every experience, good or bad, our brain is constantly firing off billions of neurons, sometimes called brain cells, and between these billions of brain cells, there are on average 10,000 connections being wired together. Now, the more certain connections are fired, the more long-lasting those connections become. Well, that's why I can smell cinnamon and be transported back to a memory of making snickerdoodles as a kid. It's also why certain things said to me can spark an extreme emotion because it reminds me of being bullied in middle school. You may have heard the phrase, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks." And we feel that way sometimes about certain patterns or behaviors that we've had our whole lives. We think, well, it's just how it's gonna be and that's never going to change. Have I got news for you? The field of neuroplasticity is discovering more and more every day just how many new tricks an old dog can learn. We can train our brains to think differently. So let's learn about our brains. First, let's talk about the left hemisphere. The left hemisphere is logical, literal, linguistic, linear, and it cares about the letter of the law. When it is well integrated with the other regions of the brain, it allows us to experience our emotions, but to not be overwhelmed by them. Now, when it's not well integrated, it can lead to an emotional desert. So, for example, your high schooler is trying to weigh pros and cons of different colleges they will attend. You notice that they start to procrastinate and withdraw from any conversations about it. Well, they've put themselves in an emotional desert to keep from feeling the weight of the decision. Next, our right hemisphere is holistic. It's nonverbal. It cares about the feeling of an experience. It cares about the spirit of the law rather than the letter. So when it is well integrated, it can help us have healthy interpersonal and personal relationships. When it's not well integrated, it can lead to an emotional flood. Remember the toddler pitching a fit about giving juice from the red cup? Well, that is the definition of an emotional flood. Their senses and emotions have completely overwhelmed them to the point where they cannot access the logical left side as long as the flood lasts. In either case, emotional desert or emotional flood, the other hemisphere can't be accessed until the dominating one has been addressed. So with your high schooler, consider using eye contact, body language, and gentle tones to ease them back into integrating their emotions from their right brain. And with your toddler, acknowledge how they're experiencing disappointment and it's hard to feel happy when things don't go our way. Give them the words and the tools to help them understand their emotions so they can then begin to process them logically. Now, next is the lower region of the brain. This is where our innate reactions like fight or flight or freeze stem from. It's also responsible for our basic functions like breathing and blinking and so on. And housed in our lower brain is the amygdala. The amygdala acts as this gatekeeper to the upper region. When it is integrated well, it allows us to quickly react to dangerous situations, like when you jerk your hand back from touching a hot pan. Now, when it's overwhelmed, it shuts the gate between the upper region, where higher level reasoning happens, and the lower, causing it to be nearly impossible to act calmly or reasonably. And finally, think of the upper region of your brain as this room filled with light and books that help us better understand the world around us. When our upper region is fully integrated, we can see things more clearly. Our upper region houses the cerebral cortex, which is responsible for more intricate mental processes like thinking and planning and imagining. It's in our upper region that we make sound decisions. We have control over our emotions and body. We develop self-understanding. We learn to have empathy for others, and we develop worldviews that affect our morality. While our lower brain is mostly fully developed from birth, our upper region is under massive construction for the first few years of life, and you can see that play out in your baby that seems to soak everything up like a sponge. And then the upper region, it undergoes actually an extensive remodel in our teenage years. Their brain starts pruning all of these connections that haven't been accessed in a while. This remodel will continue until it's finished in their early 20s. Now, this is important to understand because we can't expect kids or students to always make wise decisions, have empathy, or to respond to moral issues the way that we taught them when they were younger. That part of their brain is still being built. Use this time to engage in consistent, healthy experiences so their brain will be continually rewired in a way that encourages full integration and it results in a kid who is resilient to life's highs and lows. Parents who have a healthy understanding of their kid's brain and use that knowledge to help their kid navigate the floods and the deserts of life create kids who are resilient and who thrive. I know what you're thinking. Why should I care about any of this? Well, in the past few years, kids and adults have undergone massive upheaval. Studies show that anxiety, depression, and a whole slew of things are on the rise. And it can feel like there's no end in sight. It can feel like your toddler with separation anxiety, or your now shy third grader, or your forgetful middle schooler will never move past the phase that they're in. Like they're stuck in a harmful pattern that will impact them for the rest of their lives. I want you to know that there is hope. The God of the universe, who made everything with intricate and incredible care, has stamped us in his image. We have been designed to love, to learn, and to grow, and he has made you to grow in understanding of who he is, how he loves us, how we can love others, and how we can wonder in the design, in his design. He has intentionally entrusted you to be the parent or guardian of your child. And as you learn to know your kid, how God has made them, you learn how to create kids who relate to God, relate to others, and relate to themselves in a healthy, fully integrated way. While some studies show that anxiety and such are on the rise, other studies show that the best way to pull your kid out of those patterns is to see them, to sit with them when they're sad, to pursue them when they try to push you back, to encourage them when they feel stuck. Love over time is the best way to rewire your kid's brain to be emotionally, physically, and spiritually healthy. In other words, to build kids that thrive.